Advocate, it's good to have you this morning. And I suppose going through the amendment bills by the President, is this a progressive step in the right direction? Of course, the aim here, being to change the landscape and how government, law enforcement officials, as well as the law enforcement agencies and the courts deal with violent crimes, especially those against women and children.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers. Correctly, it is. It's been over a year in the making that these amendments were first mooted by the Department of Justice and Correctional Services. It was after the President had announced a 1.6 billion emergency response action plan, and Department of Justice decided that these are the three critical pieces of amendments that needs to be effected and brought into line with some of the changes that we're seeing on how violence was manifesting itself in the country. So it's a step in the direction. Does it go far enough? Not at all, but I mean, there is a start and we need to build on it. One of the unfortunate aspect of this whole thing is that you are bringing these amendments to an already dysfunctional police system, a very dysfunctional court system, with the same individuals who are inept and incompetent and not willing to go the extra mile. So you pile on them these new amendments, and when they have been struggling to implement the previous laws in the first place. So you're going to have to put in many resources to ensure that the application of these amendments are correct by those who are charged with the responsibility of implementing them, and that you create an awareness on all South Africans to understand the implications and the consequences of non-compliance or compliance with these amendments.
In essence, Advocate, what I'm hearing from you is fix what you already have first and then introduce something new. How do you think, of course, the President or even government can do so? Because you highlight an important point that there's already a damaged system in dealing with violent crimes, particularly those against, women and children and gender-based violence in essence. How do you think those can be firstly corrected?
I think there has to be a recognition, and if you read the President's letter to all of us yesterday, he is trying to say to South Africans, I don't know whether we can all imagine and visualize the extent of the violence and what happens to a victim of violence and a survivor of gender-based violence, right? And until all of us understand and appreciate that, we will continue to theorize about it and minimize it and diminish it when we don't appreciate its scale, its impact on broader society. So first and foremost, I think as South African Police Service, as clerks of courts, as magistrates, as prosecutors, I think there has to be a recognition, a sharp recognition of the damaging effects of gender-based violence and acknowledge and appreciate it for what it is and stop sugarcoating it and avoiding it and trying to minimize it, because there's a lot of diminishing and minimizing of it. And so if the President can lead the charge in demonstrating the seriousness of it and not just issuing statements, not just speaking in podiums, but going onto the ground. I always challenge South Africans to go into these sexual offences courts, to go to the magistrate courts where protection orders are issued, and just see the level of indignity and dismissal attitude given to those who seek assistance from those who are employed, who are paid to provide this service. So it requires a concerted effort from decision makers, all of them, to start performing for us, right? And thinking that these are the kinds of words we want to hear. We want to see action. Once a police officer does not do as required, there must be action, swift action taken immediately against that police officer. That is missing at the moment. That is not done. They are doing each other favors. They are covering up. They take forever to do an investigation. I mean, we've got many cases that we have brought against the police and we have complained about the conduct of the police. We're still today waiting for the response from South African Police Service on some of the complaints that we have brought. So, for me, is that you cannot, as a state, say that this is a pandemic and your response is that of a tortoise.
Right.
Right? The response has to be meted the same way that you are treating COVID as a pandemic, is the same way. Pool the resources, amass all the resources, marshal all the resources, because we believe that is not good for the country, that we have these statistics, that we talk about it every day on national television, on newsrooms, in our homes, at universities, everywhere. And your reaction and response is totally different, is contrary to what you say all the time.
Strong clarity that you've provided there, Advocate, and I appreciate your time this morning. Hopefully it lands on the right ears and action, swift action at that, is taken. Wise for Africa Director, Advocate Brenda Madumise, thank you so much for your time this morning.